Let me say right now, these are two of my favorite movies ever going head to head to see which is the better Vietnam film. This couldn't be more of an epic installment of verses. So, anyway, I'm back with an unpopular verses. The Harry Potter vs. Lord of the Rings was fun to do, so now it's round two. When it comes to Vietnam War classics, none did it better than Platoon and Full Metal Jacket. Of the many popular Vietnam War movies, these were the ones that did it right. These were the movies that showed the war at its purest form. Surprisingly enough, these films came out very close to each other. Not only did they have to compete with each other at the theaters, but the rivalry among war movie fans is legit. So today, I'm going to find out which one is the best. So without any further ado, let's get some. Round 1. Plot. So the story of Platoon is one of a young man's journey from idealistic recruit to battle-hardened veteran after seeing the harshness and brutality of the Vietnam War. But the men of his platoon are divided into two halves, those under the influence of the sadistic Sergeant Barnes and those under the influence of the graceful Sergeant Alliance. This causes conflict and hostility amongst the soldiers, as tensions rise and spirits sink. Full Metal Jacket follows a similar formula, but takes a different approach, by showing the characters transform from civilians into Marines during the boot camp sequences, then the transition to war-torn Vietnam. But which one has it better? Now, both plots are awesome, but have been seen in many different movies. So, with the added story of civil war between the platoon, in Platoon, gives it the edge. Winner, Platoon. Round 2. Characters. The characters of both movies are very similar. In fact, only a few things separate them from being totally the same. In Platoon, we know more about the soldier's background, and the protagonist Chris Taylor's motivations and thoughts are expressed through the voiceover, but the actions and characteristics of them are identical. You have the sadistic jerks in both movies. Like Platoon, you have Bunny and Sergeant Barnes, and Full Metal Jacket has Animal Mother. The new recruit protagonist who provides the voiceover and personal aspect of the film, like Chris in Platoon and Joker from Full Metal Jacket. The only major difference is how the soldiers of platoons have names and personal history. In Full Metal Jacket, we don't even know the characters' names or anything about them that wasn't given to them by the Marine Corps. The nicknames given to them at boot camp are all we know and all we get as we watch the characters go off and expand on their military career, which is very interesting to me because the film expresses that before Vietnam, none of your actions or personalities really matter, or ever existed before the Marine Corps. Who did it better? Honestly, I hate doing this, but it's a tie. There's no way to compare the brilliance of character study in each film. Round 3. Sound and special effects. These movies came up before CGI, so all the effects you see are practical, and I love that. But I have to say, realistically, if you ever watch Platoon and listen to the audio, you'll agree, it's terrible. For a major Hollywood film, the gun and explosion sound effects are laughable and haven't aged well. Also, at times, there's this annoying and awful hissing sound in the background of the B footage or the major scenes, which is bothersome. And the napalm strike wasn't horrible, but it was visually impressive, not too great. On the other hand, you hear Full Metal Jacket sound effects, and you'll be impressed. It sounds really good and realistic. The explosions were cool, and the audio was almost crystal clear. So, winner, by a long shot, Full Metal Jacket. Round 4. Quotes. Like many people say, Arlie Ermey's performance and quotes are hysterical and can be repeated for days, from the jelly donut to a certain golf ball and garden hose implication. However, Platoon does have some underrated quotes, but at the end of the day, Full Metal Jacket has the better of the two. Winner, Full Metal Jacket. Round 5. Music. Full Metal Jacket doesn't have many music in it besides a couple hits from the 60s and one or two original composed music. Nothing really memorable. But the music from Platoon was so moving and powerful. The use of adagio for strings was a genius decision, so by far Platoon takes this round. Winner, Platoon. Round 6. Direction. I'm going to be blunt by saying that the direction of Platoon by Oliver Stone was a little boring. I have a ton of respect for Oliver Stone. He's one of my favorite directors, but in Platoon, he didn't deliver that well. The cinematography was a little boring, the editing was lame to an extent, but fun fact, Platoon actually won an Oscar for both directing and editing. But Full Metal Jacket was directed by the master, Stanley Kubrick. His micromanaging and his perfectionist attitude and overseeing every little detail helped contribute to his brilliantly crafted film. Like most of his movies, they are visually pleasing, and the techniques used are the best. But I do have to point out the numerous continuity errors that a lot of viewers like to pick on. But in the end, I have to say that Full Metal Jacket takes this round. Winner, Full Metal Jacket. Round 7. Popularity. Platoon was massively popular upon its release, and won 4 Oscars including Best Picture, with a box office performance of $140 million. If that sounds hard to beat, then it just got a whole lot worse. The AFI, American Film Institute, has ranked Platoon in the 100 greatest movies of all time. Though I don't always agree with the American Film Institute, that one I agree with. Full Metal Jacket received an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay and had a box office performance of $130 million, not to mention widespread critical acclaim. But at the end of the day, the once noble Academy Awards awarded Platoon with Best Picture. That was the tiebreaker. So, the popularity goes to Platoon. Winner, Platoon. Round 8. Performances. Willem Dafoe and Charlie Sheen's acting really knocked it out of the park, and the supporting cast and main cast did a phenomenal job showing the stress of being a combat soldier in Vietnam. In Full Metal Jacket, Vincent D'Onofrio really shows the mental stress and psychological issues that one endures when being pushed too hard in basic training. And Matthew Modine was a great actor to pull off Private Joker. For the record, Platoon was nominated for 2 Acting Academy Awards, but with all that aside, I again award this round to Platoon. Winner, Platoon. Round 9. Battles. We come to the moment that every war movie fan has been waiting for, the battle scenes. Platoon battle scenes range from ambushes to intense firefights and pure chaos. Intense combat with brutal and graphic wounds that gets the blood pumping and the adrenaline running. Truly the makings for good cinema. Whereas Full Metal Jacket's battles mostly consist of the Marines just shooting at buildings. The major difference in combat of these movies is Platoon is focused on jungle warfare and Full Metal Jacket is purely urban city combat. 2 polar opposites of the Vietnam War. But I will say that the battles in Full Metal Jacket are jacked full of suspense. They are so exciting. They're masterfully crafted to fill the audience with a sense of tension and anxiety, leaving you on the edge of your seat.
Doc, where's the sniper?
They are very thrilling sequences. And I hate doing this, but again, it's a tie. There's no way to compare or choose between them. So I'm sorry, my movie-going friends, but this round is a tie. Round 10. Portrayal of the War. I'm no soldier, so I can't speak from personal experience, but both of these films have been praised for their accurate portrayal of Vietnam. It's been said that after watching Platoon, it feels like you've done a full tour of duty. The emotional weight and stress endured by the soldiers was perfectly captured by Platoon. And it's worth noting that it was made by a decorated Vietnam War veteran, Oliver Stone. A lot of the scenes in the film are inspired by true events that Stone himself partook in during his military service. On the other hand, Full Metal Jacket was written by 2 Vietnam War veterans, and Joker's journey from eager new recruit to emotionally scarred and wiser veteran is extremely accurate. Also, him going from being a wisecracking jokester to getting the 1,000-yard stare was pure Vietnam. And the sniper scene was as true to the war as one can get. A little girl, alone, facing off against a platoon of trained Marines, knowing she's not going to live, but trying to take as many with her as she can. It's disturbing and eerie, but that's a true horror our servicemen had to handle. Ambushing and killing children, which haunted them forever, and that one scene said it all. But the massacre scene in the village of Platoon was horrifying and brutal, but accurate. I've heard and read so many interviews and articles that veterans have saying each film is the best and the most accurate depiction of war put to film. So, how can you decipher that? For our last round, again, it's a tie. So who won? 3 ties and a lot of talk. With a score of 7-6, Platoon's taken the most categories. But as you remember from last time, it's not about the number of wins. So with that, you have my answer. Full Metal Jacket. Surprised? You shouldn't be. This is my favorite movie of all time. In fact, I'm going to be so bold as to say this is the best movie ever. It's masterfully crafted and a roller coaster of emotion, ranging from thrilling suspense to shock and awe. The battles are incredible and fun to watch with a mixture of sense of impending destruction. This film is perfect and will stand the test of time. Pound for pound, it is much more watchable than Platoon, and I could watch this movie over and over, which, for the record, I've done in the past. So, my friends, you have it. Platoon versus Full Metal Jacket, and Full Metal Jacket is the winner. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, if you disagree, let me know and comment below. Subscribe, and like this video. If you have any suggestions for my new installment of Versus, let me know, and I'll see you next time on Unpopular Opinion.